Well, I will say it's been interesting, somewhat. It's all rather minor. But Strange New Worlds has now delivered 3 episodes that at least try. Following the one that I think a lot of people just took as an insult directly to classic Star Trek and that sort of thing. But since then, they've had the episode of the archaeological site that had this time displacement situation within it, and similar themes have been explored in science fiction. Perhaps they're blatantly ripping off on Star, because this Secret Hideout Trek has done this several times, and I'm just unaware of it or whatnot. But all in all, it was okay. It didn't really bother me that much. There's certain things that weren't completely explained. I mean, I'm not sure how you could maintain a video feed when your team is split up across timelines and that sort of thing. But whatever, they had their odd, bizarre concept play out there. Okay. And then you have the next episode, which is the Kirk one. With the, I guess, I don't know, the Skeletor or the Castle. I think I saw someone that it was the Castle Grayskull ship. And at its very basic, it's not as foolish and stupid, except for the ridiculous monster giant spaceship, and then its origin story and all that. But from point to point, it's mostly fine. But it's still kind of a silly, stupid episode, which just hinged on the look. It's Kirk and most of the crew that he ends up with. They're meeting for the first time and that kind of thing, and that's pretty much all it was. And then we come to this one, which is this approach where they decide to do a found footage film. Of course, they've already introduced the character, and I'm already blanking on his name, but it's Torres' brother, and he's this filmmaker. So he's there, and he's wanting to do a documentary on Starfleet and all that. So he's been taping their missions and stuff like that. Meanwhile, he's developed this relationship with Uhura and so on and so forth. So here we're seeing his film that he put together, and at the beginning of it, it states that it's, I guess, been seized by Starfleet, and as you go through, there are certain, at least some scenes and dialogue that's been redacted because it's classified and all this stuff. But the interesting part about it, this is one of these rare occurrences where you see Captain Pike being a captain. You see the military code of Starfleet being enforced here, and it's a little more strict, which is damn near almost completely. In fact, now to say it's completely out of character for the show, because you almost never see any of that, to the detriment of the show. It's ridiculous of some of the smart aleck remarks back to the captain and stuff like that, and they just think it's for little tee-hee moments and stuff, even when they're in the midst of dire straits, and so it's good to see it when you can, even though it's in this found footage lens type thing for this documentary that this guy's trying to do. And so the overall story is this diplomatic mission they're doing with this race that they're not so sure about, but they need allies dealing with the Klingons and all that sort of thing. So they go in there and they need the Enterprise's help to transport this weapon. Well, the weapon turns out to be a sentient being, is this giant space butterfly looking thing. And they don't know that it's sentient at first, but they find out that it is. And it's these creatures that this species has captured and have been breeding for war through all kinds of painful training and whatnot that they've done to it. So it's this terrible secret that's revealed here, but it's their main super weapon in their war, and they're desperate to have it. But now they find out, well, you're involved in torture, essentially, and all that. Now they find out because they begin to realize that there's some sort of... The creature freaks out and starts fighting against its captors and then the Enterprise. So they're trying to figure out what this is about. And Spock feels, hey, yeah, I'm sensing a presence here or what have you. Uhura's trying to translate. So they come up with this idea for Spock to mind meld with it. And this goes pretty bad. Spock gets injured. So then they hook Uhura up to a transmitter to contact the creature. And it works. I mean, I think it would have been better to just have Spock do the scene, but they wanted Uhura to do it. They could have had her eventually, through Spock's communications with it, that she could have deciphered a language from the creature. But ultimately, the creature is so badly tortured, it just wants to die, which they help it do, But its dying wish is that you care for its children, and it doesn't have to. The children of this creature, aren't put through this, torturous training thing they do to turn them into weapons against this war. There, I forget the name of the species or whatever, but anyway, that's that, and they succeed in this. And there you go. That's the film. And then they give a little talk about how good Starfleet is and how it's been good to them and stuff like that. At the outset, it is another interesting thing I'll give to them is that this kid is this journalist, and yet he's already made his conclusion, which is actually pretty standard these days, and has an axe to grind with Starfleet, primarily because of what happened to his sister during their fight with the Gorn and that sort of thing. And so he's not objective, not biased. Plus, he's violating regulation and protocols here, where he sneaks his camera in, even surreptitiously on Uhura herself, which you would think that's the end of their relationship after he pulled that stunt. Doesn't appear to be, but maybe in a follow-up episode they'll remember and think, oh, well, she's not gonna be so fond of him anymore. But he was spying on Pike and Number One, and stuff like that. That's the scenes where Starfleet got a hold of his film and redacted all that, and that kind of thing. So, all in all, for its attempt, and really out of the three of these, it's probably the best. The Captain Kirk one is, probably the weakest of the three that they've done. But, and these aren't great. These aren't good. None of them rise to the level they achieved with Lotus Eaters, which is really their closest to an actual Star Trek episode that they've done out of now 3 seasons. So, I mean, granted, this season has a few more episodes, so maybe there's a bright, shining, golden one on the way. I, of course, am dubious of this, but nevertheless, these were a couple episodes that just didn't have as much stupid in them, to the point that it was damaging the brand. They're just sort of these bland episodes that had some moments where they actually tried. So that's the best I can do for it. There's so many mistakes with these, and I don't even judge it as a canon violator or anything, because I just don't see this. And I think they've established this with the Tomorrow episode, where this is indeed an alternate timeline. It has no connection to the original Star Trek lore, other than it's this alternate timeline of that. So Kirk meeting Spock at this event or what have you. Okay, fine. That's not how it really happened, but it happened here. And that's that. So, of course, it answers the aesthetics and stuff. It doesn't answer everything. It doesn't answer how Scotty can be younger than Kirk and that sort of thing. You know? See, it's still got stupid in it. But so that's a factor I just don't even bother trying to address. If it was still attempting that, then it's like, oh, well, good Lord, this is stupid. It's beyond the stupid it already is. So, it's sort of interesting. But is it enough? No, not to salvage this iteration of Star Trek. And that's unfortunate. But, it's just better than the usual. And I guess, until I see otherwise, this is as good as it gets. Plus, it's already a dead show. They've canceled it. They're going to do another season, and then sort of a half a season, and then that'll be that. But, and wouldn't it be just hilarious if those episodes are just spectacular, you know? You know? That'd be about right. But anyway, that's what I got on the found footage. What is Starfleet episode.